Right, following the Christmas Day airstrikes launched against Islamic State terrorists in northwest Nigeria, President Trump has described the move as a Christmas present to protect innocent Christians.
Many Republican supporters of the president have celebrated the joint operation with the Nigerian government, as the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, has also hinted there could be more to come.
And in other news across the ponds, President Trump is set to meet with Volodymyr Zelensky tomorrow in Florida, the so-called Winter White House in Mar-a-Lago. Amid reports the Ukrainian leader is willing to bring a peace plan up for a referendum amongst the Ukrainian electorate if Russia agrees to a 60-day ceasefire.
This important interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your money and your identity. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code here to get ExpressVPN right now and save up to 73% on annual plans today. Right, let's get back into it.
Joining us now is former Chair of Defence Select Committee, Tobias Ellwood. First of all, if we can talk about what is going on in Nigeria with these strikes then. So this is being portrayed as a strike to protect Christians in Nigeria, northern Nigeria.
Yeah, this is a reminder that Islamic State is far from defeated and remains a deadly influence. And we saw this on Bondi Beach only very recently. On the face of it, attacking Islamic State targets that are responsible for killing thousands of Christians seems justified, even long overdue. But when we learn more about this particular operation in northern Nigeria, I do have concerns. On the operation itself, some of these bombs hit villages where there's never been any Islamic State activity. That does need to be addressed. Secondly, jihadi extremism has been blighting Nigeria for decades, taking advantage of Nigeria's weak governance and security. But efforts to tackle the Islamic State and other groups there have been seriously weakened by Western disengagement, by the US and the UK, indeed, when we cut our aid budgets. Islamic State fills that vacuum. Soft power, the ability to improve local security and governance, is far cheaper and more effective than military intervention that comes later, something I'm afraid our politicians don't grab. And will America follow up these attacks with a serious strategy to eradicate Islamic State on the ground? I suspect that's not what Donald Trump intends to do. And that leads to my final point. What incentivized the US president to attack a part of Africa in the first place and make these claims specifically about the prosecution of Christians when Muslims are equally targeted in northern Nigeria? Indeed, more have died. And in America, there is this narrative swirling around social media, started with Charlie Kirk claiming that 125,000 Christians have been murdered by Muslims in Nigeria. Nobody's doing anything about it. And it's this incomplete picture of what's going on in Nigeria that needs to be checked, indeed corrected. Let's go after Islamic State, no doubt about it. But I'm concerned that Donald Trump is using this to encourage and build his support on his base by taking action. We need to go after Islamic State. They should be destroyed. But this is almost a cack-handed and flawed way to go about it.
Tobias, you said more Muslims are being killed than Christians in Nigeria. I mean, how many Muslims have been killed, say, I don't know, the last 5 years in Nigeria compared to Christians?
Well, I've only got the numbers that you're probably available to see as well. We're looking at 8,000 in the last year of Christians, and more Muslims have been killed after that. To be clear, these the Islamic State, Boko Haram, and these other jihadi extremists don't care who they're killed. They're trying to dominate the areas. And in fact, they kill many more Muslims, because if the Muslims don't convert and join their cause, then they are immediately
Tobias,
killed.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. I guess the Trump administration is thinking that may be the case, that there's more Muslims killed. I don't know, but the Trump administration is thinking we are a Christian-first nation built on Christian values. We are predominantly a Christian country. So why would President Trump and the administration get involved to defend Muslims in Africa when they are a Christian nation defending the Christian faith?
Maybe you should be supporting anybody who's persecuted in Nigeria if you're willing to bomb Nigeria in the first place. That's the question I ask. When you start to segregate groups in this way and say, fine, Boko Haram, Islamic State can go after other Muslims, but we're just going to defend Christians. I think that's a very dangerous place.
Well, I guess you look after your own, don't you, Tobias? You look after your own. You wouldn't see Pakistan going to defend, sending F-35s to defend Christians elsewhere, for example. You defend your own people.
I'm really sorry that you're taking this line of questioning. If we're there to support and crush Islamic State in Nigeria, which I'm absolutely behind, then you work with the Nigerian government. The Nigerian government is, I'm afraid, like many African states, pretty corrupt. It's not as powerful as it should be. But again, I go back to the fact that because we've withdrawn support to provide better security and better governance, and that's why the vacuums that are created are taken over by Islamic extremists who do go after and persecute Christians and Muslims. The idea that we're only going in there, it's bordering on racism, I'm afraid. It's not a good direction of travel to go.
You think it's... Sorry, Tobias, with respect, don't be so ridiculous.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 73% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 73% off ExpressVPN plus 4 extra months free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
To call it racist to protect and prioritise people of your own faith and your own culture?
In another country, you simply cannot go in to a country and say, I'm going to look after one religion but ignore another, when Nigeria is pretty much equally balanced between Muslim and Christians. I just simply suggest that's a very dangerous strategy to adopt. And as I say, it's an absence of a strategy because there won't be a follow-up, I don't think, by America to go in to help build up capability of the armed forces, to provide that security, to strengthen governance capabilities, because all the programs have been cut. I do push back, sir, on this idea that we could go into any part of the world and particularly help one religion but not another, when both are being persecuted equally. I think that is wrong.
Can we move on, Tobias, on to the situation in Ukraine and this war of attrition there, and Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, saying that he hopes to bring an end to the war between his country and Russia with the help of President Donald Trump, who he's seeing tomorrow. Says that he's 90% there with the suggestions. The problem is, of course, is that Russia has to agree to whatever is actually thrashed out, and that is by no means certain.
Yes, I mean, you ask exactly the right question. Why would Russia agree to terms when they're actually on the front foot? They're gaining territory on the ground. Putin has orchestrated his entire economy to a war footing, and he can't afford to lose. So he's going to continue. His wider objective, which Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand, is that he wants to redraw the map of Europe, to rekindle influence like his in Soviet times. But equally, we're seeing Zelensky say, hang on a minute, I've just got a whole load of funds from Europe, from the European Union, from those frozen assets. I've now had a kill in Moscow, taking down a general. That's certainly going to affect the Russian psyche, thinking that they are not safe in their own capital city. And then there's bigger questions to do with security guarantees, the post-war reconstruction, what happens to Donbass itself, and so forth. And then even longer term, can Ukraine join NATO? These difficult questions have not been answered. And I think Zelensky has been very clever to say, I'm not going to make these decisions now. I will slide them across the table. We will hold a referendum in Ukraine, and the people can then decide. Otherwise, he might have been that president that gave up a fifth of the country, and then you'd have to live with that. That would be his legacy. He does not want to go there.
The problem with the referendum is that we know.
I don't have any faith that we're going to get anywhere again, I'm afraid, in these discussions.
Yeah. And also, we know that Russia is very good at actually being able to get in and sway referendums and etc. They're very clever on that front, and they've got lots of people who can do that.
Well, you say something that's so critical because Russia is at war with us. They influence our social media. They're sowing disinformation. They're hitting us with cyber attacks and so forth. That is what Russia is doing. And again, Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand that. He's keen for a fast deal so he can then start doing minerals deals with Russia to bring Putin in from the cold. That's not where Europe wants to go. We see Putin as a threat, and unless we stand up to Putin in Ukraine, I'm afraid that war will continue beyond Ukraine.
Tobias, thank you very much. Tobias Ellwood, former chair of the Defence Select Committee. Thanks for your company this morning.